I'd always been really afraid of prose because I wasn't good in school. I was always underachieving in school, and part of it was uh, I always felt overwhelmed by how much there is to say. And songwriting is condensing things and giving yourself um, the freedom to omit lots of things just to try and get the essence of an emotion or the essence of a story to come through. And writing prose always felt to me like, oh my God, do I have to describe the walls like, to me, all of the great writing that I was reading and being inspired by, I've always been a really big reader, felt so majestic and so detailed and perfect that it overwhelmed me when I would. So I couldn't even finish writing an essay for a class, you know. And then at some point, I guess, writing my memoir, I figured out a middle ground that I felt comfortable with, and maybe obviously because it was telling my own story, I could tell it that way if I wanted to. Um, and
What do you mean by a middle ground?
where I don't think my writing goes out of its way to over elaborate on the scenery. Um, so there's a kind of a built-in economy to it because I'm a songwriter, because I'm coming at it from songwriting. But it did teach me a lot about clarity and writing sentences that are clear. And my songwriting actually kind of changed, I think, especially on my solo records. Like a lot of songs became more, I don't know, interested in crystallizing what it like. I started thinking, okay, I want to be able to tell somebody what this song is about in one sentence, you know. And that was a fun project, you know, to like teach myself how to do that. I wouldn't say I've never felt that. I've just never been as daunted by it because um, one of the things that's daunting about writing prose is you know it has to be longer. You know you have to fill up this stuff. And with a song, it's really, there's not a lot of room for a lot of words in most songs. And I'm really interested in language. And so very few words can work some magic on me. Um, and and that's exciting to share. Uh, so it's never been as anxiety ridden. I think I've been a reader my whole life. We didn't have a whole lot of books. My mom and dad weren't particularly academic. Neither one of them graduated high school, so there weren't a lot of books in our house. But they were both really, really, really smart. My mom loved magazines, and so I would read Good Housekeeping and Red Book and um, I just anything. And so she started subscribing to magazines that I might like Musician and things like that. And um, so I read a lot of articles, and we had the World Book Encyclopedia, which I thought was the internet. I thought it was all of the knowledge that there is. And I would surf it like the way we'd surf the internet, I guess, you know, just kind of flipping through until I saw something interesting and reading about nuclear submarines or something, you know. I don't know. I guess that's on the top of my mind because of the news story, but
Yeah.
um, uh, yeah, so I don't know. I think it's just that comes naturally, like this desire to read. And then not living up to what people told me my potential was in school, I think filled me with some, I don't know, I'm trying to find the right word. It's not like shame. I guess a little bit of an insecurity about not knowing stuff that people were good in school knew. Like, so I I don't know, I kind of assigned myself a curriculum of everything. When I finally dropped out of college and the early years of touring, I read all of the things I felt like you were supposed to read, and enjoyed it. And like I felt like they they tried to get me to read these books at a time when I wasn't ready for them. I feel like that happens to a lot of people, and then over time you have more experience and you can read a book. Like a Jane Austen book, and have some better understanding of what the world is. It's still hard, but you get to see it a little better. And even like, I don't know, books on science and things like that have just been kind of like trying to fill in all of those perceived gaps in the things that I feel like everybody else knows. I'm always hesitant to be a doomsayer about technological changes, because I know enough about the history of just the music industry to know that's a perennial thing. Taping is killing music. If you're talking about just the industry side of it and money making, sure, there's lots of things that have had to be adapted to and have affected the bottom line for people. But where music rests in people's lives and importance, I don't think can be changed very much. That being said, I think that there was something really important about the way my generation and previous generations invested themselves in music. The only way to get it was to pay for it. And once you had made just even that outlay of cash a part of your investment, you made time to find a way into it. You would listen to it a lot. I mean, now I think if you don't like something immediately, there's 10,000 other songs that you want to go to and find something that's going to hit you right away. And I think that you do miss something when that's, I don't know, when you don't have to work for it. Mm-hmm. Because I think we all know that there are really, really important songs to us that did not hit us immediately, that were puzzles a little bit. We had to figure out our way into them, and because of that personal investment in it, it changed the song. Well, which is the way I've always felt walking into a bookstore, It's like, where do I start? Oh my God, look at all these books. It's exciting and it's fun. And I imagine I actually kind of love that the way I was as a kid would have been really, really thrilled to have access to all of these records I was reading about at the moment they came out. I wouldn't have to go find them. So there's that side too. There's an education that's at everybody's fingertips about the most obscure types of music, and you never know where those specific seeds are going to take hold, and I don't know. I still think we're getting used to it. I think that I'd be interested in what my kids say about it, and we talk about it sometimes. But they find time, and they're not normal kids. They've grown up in a house where it's really highly valued behavior. I think I really mess with the algorithm personally, because I'll listen to some like death metal or something like that, and I'll get recommendations for death metal for weeks, and then all of a sudden listen to you know, I don't know. Then I also listen to lots of things I don't like to try and figure out what it is I don't like about them, you know, or find out if I can like them. I find I don't like not liking music, and so a lot of times I visit stuff thinking I know I'm not a big fan of this, but I want to know what other people are hearing in it. I think there's really something interesting about listening to things that you don't, I don't know, don't love or don't think were made for you. I feel like I'm a voyeur or something. I get to look into someone else's mind and figure out what it is, or try to figure out what it is that they see in this.
That's fascinating. And will you do that with like any, like, I mean, will you go, how far will you push that? You listen to Taylor Swift sometimes?
Oh, I think that there's, I mean, no, I mean, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift. I'm like, there's like,
There's limits to how.
yeah, I would never listen to that. No, I mean, the proof is in the pudding for Taylor Swift, or everybody, you know, like everybody loves Taylor Swift. There's so much to get right away about what the appeal is. You know, I'm talking about. I don't want to name names, you know, but it's like
Stuff that ostensibly you would like, but you don't.
no, like things that I think are pretty clearly not made for me, like say like a pop punk record or something like that, like a young punk band that is maybe fourth or fifth generation of this thing that I felt like I witnessed. That's always really interesting to me. It's really interesting to hear. I'm not a huge fan of jam bands, but I'll listen to a lot of jam bands, try and figure out how the song fits into it in a way that doesn't feel as valued to me. It's all good-natured. I'm not like trying to find out more ways to support my argument that this isn't good music. It's actually the opposite. It's like, this must be good because it's music, and there are people loving it and getting joy out of it. That's to be honored. I don't know why. I mean, it's just a fascinating thing. I've never seen a band in my life that I didn't find fascinating to watch. My wife used to own a rock club. I'd go there every night and watch whatever band was on stage and be sort of blown away by the behavior of humans to put together music and play it for people. And you know, it's just like there's always something really interesting about it. Sometimes I listen to artists that have been around a long time that maybe because I've been around a long time, and try and figure out what it is where they started missing the essence of what it is that makes them great, and start chasing something else sometimes. My youngest son has a real interest in EDM, and he has really broad musical knowledge and interests, and it's kind of amazing. It's really hard to stump him with anything, like from country music to whatever. He's really listened to a lot of music, but he has this a deeper fascination with dance music than I've ever really had. And I love it. I like, because it's like an opportunity to go like, okay, well, what is happening here? How does this music work? And it all works for people in different ways. The interesting thing about dance music to me is that very few songs sound like something somebody would go, that's my favorite song, because it's functional, and then it's like participating in something. It's communal, and it's not really set up to be like an artifact or a document of some creative mind. It's more an ongoing sea of information, and it's kind of it's awesome to be exposed to. But yeah, like I love that my kids don't have the lines drawn around the things that they liked that was really common when I was a kid. Especially punk rock was a dividing line around a lot of things. And pop radio versus rock radio, and things that were arbitrary and stupid to draw your identity from. And pretend that you were doing anything different than anybody else in forming your identity by the clothes you're wearing and things like that. My kids and my whole family went to see the Justin Bieber movie when it came out. And my kids were just so excited, and they were the only boys in the whole theater. And they also happened to have the cosmic misfortune of having Justin Bieber's haircut, both of them at the time. So there was pandemonium everywhere they would walk because they just looked like little Justin Biebers. And there were even some girls that were like, "Oh my God, he's here!"
No way.
Yeah. And I remember thinking that this is just not something that would have happened. A, my family would have never gone to something like that. B, I would have never had the self-possession to not care. But it was normal. I mean, their generation, because all music has happened at the same time for them. You know what I mean? Like, music would come and go and disappear and become old-fashioned because you couldn't, the radio would stop playing it, you didn't know, you'd have to go find it, and then some people liked things that all happened in the context of your own home. Everything is happening all at once. It's like, if you want to be into 40s swing music, that's there, and you can put it on a playlist with Drake, you know. Well, we've tried hard to kill genres for ourselves. I would say we've even gone out of our way sometimes to contradict the perception, almost knowing that it's an artistic tool in a way. When somebody's coming at your music with a preconceived notion, you have some friction to like push against, and that's artistically enticing, you know. But I just don't really think about that side of things very much.
Really? So like when people would put those, you never assumed the labels. It was like people just put genres on.
I think the only time we've ever called anything that we're doing anything is with the last record with Cruel Country. And it was kind of tongue-in-cheek to say it's a country record. It is, in our opinion. It is like but it's not like a genre exercise, in that we weren't necessarily trying to make music that sounds like itself, like its own description, which I'm very suspicious of. When music tries to sound like itself, I always question the authenticity of it. Because I don't think that the original purveyors of this great musical form cared one bit about being authentic. They wrote about the things that mattered to them, and then they just happened to become tropes of the genre, because a lot of people from the same region had the same concerns, and those things became very prominent in the way that they expressed themselves. And maybe there was some copying of each other's lyrical stance or whatever, but it was much more wide open than, oh, you have to write about a truck, you have to do, or heavy metal, you have to write about the devil, you know, or hip hop, you know, like whatever genre tries to sound like itself. I think it's always diminishing of the potential of those, I don't know, something that should be fresh. Oh yeah.
I don't know how you're doing that.
I'm just hoping I don't fall over on stage. But my balance is still pretty good. I have osteoarthritis in both hips. Eventually, they're both going to get replaced. Um, I can't take any Advil or anything, so it's been really challenging.
Yeah.
Um, but I got through 5 weeks in Europe, which is always a little bit harder than here, so I feel like I'm going to be able to get through the rest of this touring schedule. The main thing that makes touring in Europe harder for somebody with a really bad hip is that the tour buses are double deckers and the beds are upstairs and the bathroom is downstairs. So going up and down a spiral staircase while the bus is moving is like, I mean, I'm just self-pitying right now.
Or is it like
Music has an amazing magical power to transport you from pain, emotional and physical, for sure. And yeah, I do feel like I go someplace else most of the night. Some people around me were a little nervous about being open about things, which always struck me as very weird, especially with addiction. It's not like it's a secret in the business I'm in that people fall prey to addiction issues. I mean, I'm having trouble distinguishing what's new from the fact that everybody talks about everything now. And that there's like it's the way that what we're talking about is social media. And I don't doubt that that's really valuable and that there are people being helped by seeing artists that they love being honest about those issues. Definitely. You go to a Billie Eilish concert, the culture around it is so positive and so welcoming, and like same with Harry Styles and like stuff like that. And it's like so that's good stuff. But like anything with social media, for me, I worry that the language isn't sufficient, that the size of it and the context of it isn't sufficient to really address the issues that need to be addressed. It's like fitting every single topic into the same envelope and delivering the same, every message seems like it's the same. And it's just a take, or it came in this envelope, so I know what this is about. And I think it's hard for people to distinguish what's important sometimes because of how uniform the size of the message is.